200 years ago, Asiatic lions ranged freely across many parts of Asia from Turkey to Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, and in India. Kings loved hunting lions, and early on, hunting would only be with spears and bows and arrows. But once man found how to use his firearms and guns, the lions began to die even faster at the hands of their hunters. Lions in Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia had all perished more than 100 years ago. And we're talking about the Asiatic lions here. As we record this podcast in 2023, Asiatic lions can be found in only one country in the world today, and that is in India. How did this come to be? This is an episode in a series of podcasts about wildlife, conservation, and the stories behind how many wonderful wild creatures thrive in the forests of India. Hi, you're listening to What's New Today, a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. This is your host, Sangeeta, and in every episode, I'm joined by a very curious child who would like to research and explore the topic that we're about to speak about. And in this episode, I am joined by...
Hello, my name is Chandrika Ravi. I study in Sishugriha School, Bangalore. Biology is my favorite subject, even though it's not there in fourth grade.
I was just going to ask you because I thought the division between physics and chemistry and biology, they all start much later, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Welcome, Chandrika. It's amazing to see that you already heard these words like biology. But what about lions? Do you like lions?
Oh, I love lions.
Oh, have you had a chance to see a lion?
Yeah, many times. Whenever I go to a zoo, I see one.
Okay. I was just going to say not on YouTube. Okay, but in person, you've seen it in a zoo. Have you had a
Yes.
chance to visit any wildlife
Yeah,
park?
yeah, I've gone to Banagatta and I've seen 2 to 3 lions there. It's kind of like a zoo, but there's also one place where we can see many other animals which live in the wild.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely. Now, what do you find most fascinating about lions?
I love that lions are majestic and I love the lionesses. They always are so fierce. They always go out for hunting in a team.
Only the fathers take care of the babies.
Yeah, most of the time they look after the babies and the father will make sure that they won't get lost or something.
Okay. Is that something very similar to what happens in amongst humans?
Yeah, kind of.
If the fathers are very careful, take care of the
Yes.
babies, the mothers go out finding food amongst humans also.
Yeah, sometimes.
I'm very happy to hear that, in your opinion, the fathers are also the kind that take care of babies and nurture their children.
Yes.
Great. Great. I'm happy. Now, you mentioned you've seen a lion at the Banarghata. I don't know if I should call it a national park or a zoo.
Yeah.
But do you know that lions in India, the Asiatic lions, can be found in
Yes.
only one state? Which state is that?
Gujarat in Gir National Park.
In the Gir sanctuary, right? Gir is one of the 5 sanctuaries in Gujarat which houses Asiatic lions.
Yes.
Now I've got a question for you. You remember at the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that a lot of kings have hunted lions in many regions in the world.
Yes.
What do you think about the kings in India? Do you think they too hunted a lot of lions? And
Yeah, they must have hunted a lot of lions. And the pugees that we have now, lion trackers, they used to help the kings and queens find these lions. But now they have taken a pledge to save these Asiatic lions.
Wonderful. You used a very interesting word called puggy. And we are going to come back to that word a little later. But before that, I've got a very interesting story for you.
Okay.
In this story, we've got a king who is the person to whom a lot of the credit for saving the Asiatic lion goes to. Would you be surprised that
Wow.
a king takes credit.
Oh my god.
Okay, here's the story. So, just like, I was telling you about how lions have perished in many parts of Asia, in India too, the Asiatic wild lions had really come down in number. There was a princely state in India which was called the Junagadh state.
Okay.
So, India before independence, right? There were large parts of the country which were directly ruled by the British. There were also tiny little parts which were technically controlled by the kings or the royalty. So, these were called princely states. So, in those states, the kings had some authority or control over what was happening to the people in their country, what was happening to the forests and the wildlife. The Junagadh state in Gujarat was one such state, and the king at the time of Indian independence, his name was Muhammad Khan. Muhammad Khan, if I remember correctly. He was very fond of dogs. He had more than 2,000 dogs. Can you believe it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I never knew somebody can have 2,000 dogs. I've seen people having 2 or 3 dogs, but 2,000? That's too much.
But we all live in tiny little apartment complexes. He had a palace.
Yes.
Maybe, no? It's
He
okay.
would probably be having one room for each dog or something.
Maybe. Very possible, because he used to throw lavish parties for his dogs, celebrating their birthdays. Marriage between dogs. He used to throw huge parties for the people in the public. So he loved his dogs. He loved many animals. He also loved the lions in his forest. So the Gir sanctuary that we talk about today, right, was part of the Junagadh state then.
Okay.
So the forests of Girnar, Gir, all of these were part of the Junagadh state those days. So these kings were very fiercely controlling about, which wildlife was there, who can hunt which creatures in their forests. Nobody could hunt even a single creature without the permission of the king.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was very tightly controlled. You remember you used a word called puggy? Those puggies, every single morning, when the king would wake up, he'd have his breakfast, and then apparently he would go for a walk around his garden. The puggies would come and first tell him about everything that's happened in the forest during the previous day and night, till early morning of that day, which lion was where, who killed what, have the lions, have the prides been well fed, is there any disease? All of these updates have to come to the king every single morning when he takes his morning walk. So it was not just the Nawab of Junagadh. Most kings in India then used to have a very good sense of how many tigers, lions, elephants, whatever, all the creatures that were there in the forest, they had a very good sense of the numbers. So if a king had a forest, and if somebody wanted to kill a tiger or a lion or a rhinoceros or whatever, a black buck, they would have to get the permission of the king. So sometimes other princely kingdoms, the royalty from the other princely kingdoms, they would come. They would all go hunting together. But even if they went hunting together, it is only after the king has given permission. Okay. So he would start by saying, let's say there were 3 princes who've come to visit his kingdom. He would give each prince, say, 1 black buck, or between the 3, or all 4 of them together could kill 1 tiger, or some such number would be very clearly agreed upon. So he would take care that unnecessarily these princes also don't kill any wildlife. Now, at this time, I'm speaking about before India got freedom from the British, right? The Britishers were also very fond of hunting. If a Britisher came and asked, I'd like to kill 10 tigers, 10 lions, the kings would usually agree. But the Nawab of Junagadh was very, very, very strict. Right from 1900 till 1947, he kept a very careful watch over the lions. At one point in his kingdom, there were as few as 15 to 30 Asiatic wild lions. So many of the Britishers would come and ask him, sir, please, I'd like to, go and hunt. And kill one lion or five lions or something like that. He simply turned around and said, "Not a single lion in my forest can be touched." And he was very strict about it right till 1947. He did not even permit the British to hunt for lions in his wildlife, in
Wow.
his forests. Yeah. A very moving part of the story is now later part of after India got independence, the Nawab of
Yes.
Junagadh, he went to Pakistan. He did not join
Okay.
the Indian side of the. He did not join the Indian Union. So you could choose between being a part of India or being a part of Pakistan. So when he was taking his flight and finally flying off to Karachi, apparently when his flight was circling the forests of Gir, because he was leaving his kingdom and going away, as his
Yes.
flight was circling the forest of Gir, he had tears coming out of his eyes, I believe, saying, "Who is going to take care of my lions?"
Wow. This is such a moving story.
Oh,
I'm so happy.
yeah,
Finally, these Asiatic lions have made a comeback.
yeah. They've made such a phenomenal comeback that the forest area is insufficient. So sometimes you can find photographs of these lions wandering off into the beaches. Which brings me to a question. Do you think lions hurt humans? What do you think?
Only if they're disturbed, if the humans are trying to hurt them or their cubs or their family, or when they disturb lions while eating, they'll attack.
Yeah, that's normally the case. I think that is also true for tigers. Normally, they don't.
Yes.
The big cats will not unnecessarily come and,
Or else the lions or tigers might just mistaken the humans for prey and they might eat.
do you think they can mistake a human for prey? Like, do we look like a buffalo or a
Sometimes.
deer?
No, they
Hmm.
bend down to bring water from the lake. Then
Hmm.
a lion or tiger might mistaken that person for a black bug or something, and
Um,
it might.
have you seen this on any National Geographic video? How did this
I
thought come
saw
to your head?
I saw once about some documentary about leopards. I
Hmm.
saw one video from that documentary. The leopard was hunting one small boy. He was going to get some fish from the lake.
And the boy was bending and the leopard mistook
Yes,
him. Oh, very interesting. Okay. Now, you did mention something about puggies.
yes.
So, who are puggies? Where have you come across this very interesting concept?
While
What
I
did
was while I was researching, I learned that puggies are basically lion trackers. They always track the lions. If something is wrong with the lions, like a wound or some battle happened, then they'll call the veterinary doctors immediately. Then they'll try darting the lion by using some kind of gun and anesthesia. And then after the dart goes into the lion, they'll do a health checkup. And if they find wounds, they'll treat those immediately. But if the lion wakes up while they're doing the checkup, it's really dangerous.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I'd like to be around that place though.
Yes.
I'm sure they'll know the strength of the anesthetic that they'll have to give the
Yes.
lion. Can you spell a puggy for me? Because some listeners might not understand the word.
Pugee.
Yeah. So a puggy is not someone who is unique to just tracking lions, because a puggy is a
Yes.
person who tracks pug marks.
Yeah, pugmarks are basically footprints.
Yeah. So you can have a puggy who tracks a leopard or a cheetah or a tiger or a lion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you remember, I think in the video that I had shared with you, there
Yes.
were two puggies called Irfan and Muhammad.
Yeah, they were some of the only old school puggies left.
Yeah. What did they say about how they had learned how to understand the pug mark of an animal? Who taught them, and what all did they learn?
They'll so this profession will be passed down from father to son to the grandchildren. son or something, then they'll all keep learning the same thing, how to track pugmarks and how to track a lion. They'll learn all of this.
Right.
It's not taught normally in schools.
Yeah, it's a real pity, right? That schools near Gujarat or wherever there are tigers or there are big wildlife forests, don't you
Yes.
think they should include teaching how to understand an animal's pug mark is important?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they have to do that because what if one person from that same school comes upon a lion
Hmm.
who is having a wound?
Hmm.
Then how will they know how to call the veterinary people? How will they know how to track pug marks?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think it's a good idea to include how to read pug marks as part of the school syllabus. Shall we go and recommend that to the educational board of all countries?
Yes, I think we can recommend that.
Which means y'all might get to spend a full term in a forest because it takes a long time to
Ugh,
learn. Are you up for that?
I'm not sure. I
Now we
hate
have to
creepy
rethink.
crawlies.
Who doesn't? Now I think we are rethinking if one really needs to learn how to read a pug mark in school.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, that's fine. So I read somewhere that the moment a puggy sees the pug mark of, say, a lion, they can tell you whether it is a male or a female lion.
Yes, that's such like amazing. How will they know that it's a female or a male? That's too good.
Right? Yeah, I know. Now, the next sentence that I'm about to say, tell me if you think this is true or false.
Okay.
When someone sees a pug mark, I'm talking about a puggy, they can
Yes.
even tell you the exact age of the animal.
Yeah,
The
they can.
They
They can.
can? Okay. The last thing, puggies can read the pug marks of many animals, right?
Yes, they can.
So, several puggies, you know what they do? They'll go to the waterfront in that wildlife area every
Yes.
morning, and by just seeing the track of all the footprints that have come to the waterfront,
They will know exactly what happened at that place. If one dead body of an animal is there, they'll know exactly what happened uh, just by seeing the pug marks.
yeah, absolutely, they can reconstruct the whole story apparently.
Yes.
There was a cheetah which was hiding behind this tree based on where the pug mark was last seen. And then the cheetah pounced at this point, and there was a deer which was bending here to drink water. And the whole scene is something that they can reconstruct.
Yes.
Fascinating, right? I believe that's how the puggies earlier also used to go and meet the kings every morning and tell them about all that happened in the forest. This is how they did. It's not like there were any cameras that were there which
Yeah,
could
there will
track.
not be cameras in the royalties time. That would
Yeah,
just be silly.
yeah. It would be silly. It is anachronistic. Yeah. So all that they did was they would track the pug marks, and that's how they could reconstruct the whole story.
It's
Fascinating,
kind of
right?
like they looking at the pug marks itself is the camera.
Right. Yes, that's right. Okay. So we've spoken about how the lions in India have been saved, how hunting for lions has been made illegal, um, and about how the lions are pretty much overflowing from the state of Gujarat. I think they've used up every available territory that's now there.
Yes.
So for a very long time, India has been toying with the idea that we need to shift some of these new lions to other national parks, especially Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh, which has a similar terrain, weather conditions, and all of that, where it should be
Okay.
easy for the lions to survive. But there's been a big fight about it. But before we end this episode, are there any other fun facts about lions that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have two fun facts. Do you know about Simba from the Lion King? Simba means lion in Swahili, a Kenyan language in Africa.
Wow, I didn't know that the word Simba meant a lion.
Yeah, first I also didn't know that. I have
Wow.
also one more.
Mhm.
A lion's roar can be heard 5 miles away.
5 miles away. Wow. I'd be terrified, frankly. It would sound like it's coming from somewhere near me if I were in a forest. Yeah. Wonderful. I love both your trivia. But before we wrap up this episode, shall we do a quick quiz time?
Yeah, I love quiz time.
Awesome. So I'll ask you 3 questions based on what we've just discussed in this episode.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Question number 1. Which is the only state in India which has Asiatic wild lions?
Gujarat.
Question 2. Roughly how many Asiatic wild lions do we have in India today?
600.
Question number 3. What does the word Simba mean in Swahili?
Simba means lion in Swahili.
Wonderful. But here's a bonus question. In which movie or story does Simba feature in?
The Lion King.
Yes. Brilliantly done. Wonderful. I'm very happy that we've got to discuss one of India's better conservation stories, a good success. Actually, India's had a, a decent amount of success in conserving
Yes.
the big cats, both the tigers and the lions so far. And hopefully, we do manage to relocate some of the lions from Gujarat so the lions don't have to saunter onto beaches and scare a few tourists away. They can go off into the wildlife parks. I don't know of Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan or wherever it is that the government manages to agree to relocate their
Yes.
Asiatic wild lions. Wonderful. On that note, let me leave our listeners with a small question. Were you surprised by the story that I had narrated earlier about the Nawab of Junagadh having been a protector of the Asiatic wild lions? Did you think kings could ever be protectors of animals? Did it take you by surprise or did it not? Please scroll down and leave your answer. You can find a place where you can easily click reply and tell me your thoughts. If you're listening to this on any other podcasting platform, I'd love to hear your thoughts on hello@wsnt.in. That's it from us today. We'll be back soon with the next episode in this series on India's wildlife conservation story.
Thank you for listening.